Welcome to another episode of Off Script with Emma. Today I have the gorgeous Jess with me. Jess and I have known each other for a little while. We used to go to the same gym together, and fast forward, Jess has actually done a huge career change similar to me in that she's now working in sales. She is the perfect example of what happens when you go all in on yourself. You invest in yourself, you make a change, and you just dive headfirst, even when it's terrifying and scary. So you will learn a lot from her. Let's get into it. Hi, Jess.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I'm so excited to have you here because I know there's a lot of people who want to hear your side of things, your perspective. You've gone through a lot in the last, 6 months?
Oh, yeah. I'd say 6 months, but in particular, the last 4 months.
Yeah, massive changes. So we're definitely going to dive into a lot of the things that have happened more recently, but I really want to start because I think it's really helpful for people in that you go to school, everyone sees a certain path that they should be on depending on their experience as their parents. So what was that for you? Talk about where your starting point was once you finished school, getting into your first either career choice or path or journey or whatever you wanted to do.
I actually didn't finish school.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I left school at the end of year 11.
Mm-hmm.
During year 11, I looked into the school-based traineeships because I just wanted to get out of there, and I found real estate, and then I found a passion for it, and I was like, real estate's where I want to be. That's what I want to do. So
what sort of real estate were you doing? Were you like in sales or was it rentals? Like what were you doing?
No, so I was on reception. It was 1 day a week, and then I did like a course as well. So that was just my originally. The first part was just scrolling through to find the best thing that I possibly could find at the time to have a day off school. And then I actually found I loved it. So yeah, I started in reception year 11 1 day a week. And then at the end of year 11, I decided that I just wanted to go into real estate. So I left school and did that. I was on reception for a bit, and then I went into property management and then into sales as well. And then that's when I moved up to Newcastle and was in real estate sales. Yeah, so that's how it all started, from the going from school. And
you said that you really wanted to get a day off school, so I'm presuming that you didn't like school. It wasn't for you. You wanted to get out of it. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I had a pretty tough time at school, to be honest. I was always quite good at it, and it wasn't until I think it was mid-year 10, and I started to then really hate it, and that's when I just wanted to get out of there as soon as possible. And I actually had so many people tell me at the time, you'll regret it, you regret leaving school, you won't be able to go to uni, at least just finish, because I dropped down to non-ATAR, and then I actually remember the day I was playing Uno in maths, and I thought to myself,
wait, hang on. Was that your idea or their idea to play Uno?
No, I was in non-ATAR maths, so I was playing Uno.
You play Uno?
Yeah. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, what am I doing here at school? I'm absolutely dreading every day. Mum ended up trying to stop. She was like, I'm not even going to try and force you to go every day because I would just dread. I try and sleep in at all costs. So, yeah, I just got to a stage where I was like, what am I even doing here?
When you say that people were telling you it would be a bad idea, you would regret it, who was telling you that?
Quite a few people at the time. Even one of my bosses at where I was working, they said, you've got a job here after you finish school. I think that would be a great idea for you to finish school. And I actually remember saying to her at the time, she was so lovely. She was only ever doing it out of care. But I just remember saying to her, I was like, I'm going to be leaving regardless. So if you have a job for me, great. If not, that's so fine. I'll go find something else, which they they kept me on board. But yeah, there was quite a few people at the time because I think leaving school was because I didn't leave in year 10. I had finished year 11. I only had 3 terms left of school.
Right. And isn't it interesting how leaving school, I think our parents' generation, it was a bit more normal. I think my dad went to year 9 and it was pretty common for them to go into a trade or something and leave school. But isn't it interesting how it's quite common that people's reaction is, oh, no, don't do that. Go to school. Go to school, get an ATAR, finish, go to uni, whatever that is. But for you, you're like, no, I'm not enjoying it. Okay, so then you're in real estate. Talk us through that.
Well, first of all, I was also very fortunate that I had parents that supported me in whatever I wanted to do. So I had no pressure from them that I had to finish school, go to uni. My brother took a very different path. He definitely went down the I think his ATAR was in the 90s.
Wow.
So like he was in the 90s and I had left school. So we're on opposite ends of the spectrum, but it really goes to show that you really can take your own path. So yeah, then I ended up in real estate and I went through property management. Property management was very interesting.
Interesting how?
I think that the things that I saw, like going into people's houses, and myself and another girl, like we managed like, I think it was just over 300 properties at the time.
Wow.
So it was quite hectic. Like I'm not even 18 at this stage. And yeah, I'm just like a property manager. So I think that was probably a big shock, but I loved it.
How long did you do real estate total before you wanted to do a change? Because we're going to get to that, but I'm just trying to create an image and for people to get an understanding. How long did you do real estate for?
I think all up it was about 4 years between the reception, property management, and then sales.
Mm-hmm.
And then I actually still remember the day. I was sitting at the top of a hill in Adamstown Heights about to go door knocking. And it was like, I think 30 degrees. I was in stiletto heels. And I thought to myself, I actually turned to my friend at the time and I said to him, what are we doing? Are we seriously about to go knock on people's doors to try and get listings? And I just thought to myself, at this time, I think I was 21. I was like, I am 21 years old and I have all of my friends like out there going to Europe and going to travel and enjoying their life. And I was like, I think it just really all hit me in the face all at once.
Yeah, especially when it's 30 degrees and you're walking around in stilettos. So I had an episode a few ago, commission versus salary, and I know that real estate is another sales role where there's a lot of commission-based role. So the role that you were doing when you were in sales for real estate, was it commission only? How does that work? Because I only have quite a simple understanding of how that works in the real estate space when it comes to sales and selling and earning money.
Yeah, real estate definitely, there's heaps of different aspects that you can have. I was fortunate that I never ended up on commission only, but it's debit credit. I didn't end up on that, but
what's debit credit?
Debit credit is essentially that you get a wage, but it gets paid out of so when you earn commission, your wage gets paid off before you then get the remainder.
Whatever's left. So you basically have to, it's almost like sometimes in these roles in sales in the industry we work in now, you will have a base, but you have to make that base through commissions, and then whatever is on top you will then get. So you might have $4,000, and once you've earned $4,000 in commission, then you get that, and then you get what else is on top. But if you don't make any commissions, they'll still pay you the $4,000 as a base every month. So the business still sort of loses out. But in terms of additional commissions, I think there's an element of it being capped somewhere along the line. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know for all agencies, but there's definitely a lot of agencies that it does. I don't know, this was a couple of years ago as well. Yeah. I don't know if it's changed, but there's definitely, like, I know that it didn't reset. So every month, like, you were chasing your tail if you actually didn't hit that quota. So
yeah, right. So you're in it for 4 years, and then obviously I've already mentioned you've done a career change. You're in the remote sales space now. What led to the change? What was the moment for you that you wanted out of what you were doing to make a change?
Well, I actually didn't leave real estate to go straight into remote sales. So I actually went overseas to America for 3 months, and that's what really changed my whole perspective, that I wanted to start living a little bit more. And then, I came back and I worked a couple of different jobs, but my most recent was at a cleaning company in the office and in the management team. Yeah, we had about 100 cleaners that we managed. I just decided that I then went to Europe, realized that the amount of stress that I'd put myself under in the job and how unhappy I'd made myself was actually not worth it. So
did you only realize that after traveling, or did you know in the moment when you were working that you were burning yourself out, it was too much?
I knew in the moment I was burning myself out, but I didn't realize until I actually went overseas and took work away that how much better life was.
Yeah. Because I think, talk a little bit about, because you and I are very similar. We've talked about this in that we're achievers, and that is an identity that that we hold on to that can limit us. Absolutely. I think there are a lot of people out there, particularly women, who are working in roles and feeling like they need to hustle and achieve, and they might be in a job that they hate. Maybe it's a 9 to 5, or maybe it's just a job that they've gone into because it feels safe. But talk about what that looks like for you in terms of achievement and hustle, and what did your days look like to a point that you were just so unhappy? What were you doing?
Yeah, like I guess you could say I climbed the corporate ladder to a certain degree. And like, so in the cleaning space, like we work during the day, the cleaners work at night. So like I'd still sometimes even have the cleaners like, and a lot of it was not even an expectation of my manager or anything. It was my own expectation that I put on myself to reach out to the cleaner at 10 o'clock at night when they message me. And I think, yeah, that whole thing of like having to achieve. And I remember like I was always like, oh, I don't really care about the title or anything like that. And one day my boss said to me, oh, like we can, if you want, like, because I was so stressed and was like, I don't think I want this role. He's like, why don't we just change your title? And what I felt come up in my body at that stage, I was like, wow, maybe subconsciously I actually really do care about this title. And then I realized that, yeah, I have gone into that overachieving, wanting to always hit the mark, wanting to always do my absolute best. And I would say I've mastered it as work ethic.
I really want to dive into this because I think this is something that a lot of people won't recognize within themselves until someone makes them aware of it. So where does this level of awareness come from for you? Because obviously when you were working and in the moment, you said you knew you were unhappy, but not too much. Like, where does this awareness come from?
Well, I actually reached out. So at the time, I reached a point and I was like, I've got everything that I really thought I wanted. Obviously, I knew that I didn't really want to be working full time, but at that stage, I was like, well, that's just what you have to do in life. You've got to work full time, you've got to earn your living, like, you've got no other option. And so I actually reached out to Nerida Bin, who's an emotional intelligence coach, and she said to
We
me,
love Nerida.
yes, number one fan of Nerida Bin.
Amazing. Amazing.
And I just said to her, I'm so unhappy. And I was just crying all the time. Like my nervous system was, I didn't know it at the time, but I would just cry at work all the time over something really stupid. And I would think to myself, I don't even care about that. Why am I crying about it? Yeah, when I started working with Nerida, she said to me, you'll be a whole different person in 6 months. And I'm just about to come up to 6 months with her now. And I honestly do not even recognize myself.
Yeah. I remember we were talking at the gala the other weekend and you said that when you started working with her, you were like, what do you mean I'll be a different person in 6 months? Like you really didn't see that. So what state were you in when you first started working with her? Where did that sort of disbelief come from, do you think?
I was really confused. I was really confused why I still felt like that. And something that we were chatting about off air just previously is to, you think that once you achieve something or once you get to a certain place that you'll be happy. And I was very much the person that was like, once this happens, I'll be happy. Once this happens, I'll feel better. It wasn't until I actually started working with Nerida to realize that happiness actually comes from within, and giving that self-love to yourself and the regulated nervous system. The disbelief at the start, I would say, coming from just the confusion, being like, well, I don't know what I need to change. I don't know what I need to change to actually feel better and tell me that I'm a different person. And I still remember at the time, like, I was just so upset that night. And when I did message Nerida, it's still, like they always say, like, it's hard to jump into something. And doing that, I found it really hard to commit to myself. And like, I'm not going to lie, like I had to invest quite a bit of money to do it. And I'd never invested that kind of money before. And I look back and I will genuinely say it's the best investment I have ever made, investing in myself. Because you look at it, like we were just chatting before about a holiday, like you'd go and spend, I think I spent like $20,000 going to Europe, and I don't even bat an eyelid. But as soon as it's trying to invest in yourself, it's like a whole different ball game.
That's such a good point. You will save up and go on that holiday and justify it. You deserve it. You've worked hard. You're busy. People will do a holiday every year, every couple of years. But as soon as it comes down to investing in yourself or a change, I mean, we hear that all the time in sales. People are very quick to object to spending money on something that's going to better them, better their lifestyle, because, oh, no, that's too much money. But we'll then go and throw it on a holiday or a brand new car. How many times do people buy cars and things? Whereas you've obviously learned that the real investment in yourself is going to always pay off the most.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the same like a gym membership, like $50 a week. It's like, oh, that's a bit expensive. But then you go and buy, I don't even think you can buy a t-shirt. Maybe it came up, but
No.
like you go and buy a t-shirt for $50 and you wouldn't even think twice at the shops.
So talk about your journey into remote sales then, because for context, Jess came in and did She Sells as well, the same training company that I joined to learn how to be a closer, and you've gone through a similar journey. Talk about how you got to that point of wanting to learn how to do remote sales and joining the community.
Yeah, so I was actually overseas and I knew that I wanted something different. And I originally thought to myself, well, maybe I'll just go part-time in my current role. And I did the calculations and I actually was like, I can't even live off this amount of money. Like it even outweighed my bills at the time. So I actually seen on Narrative Story, I seen I seen her post about Brooke saying, I can't believe She Sells has reached 1,000 members. And I clicked on it and I was like, oh, remote closing. And remote closing had been coming up on my feed for months, like so many different companies. And I remember messaging Nerida. I was like, maybe this is what I should be doing. And she's like, wow, like, yes, absolutely. I had so much hesitation. Like,
what were you hesitating on, do you think?
I'd done the drop shipping before. I did the side hustle where I was like, it's going to make me all this money, and it didn't work. Well, not that it didn't work. I didn't make it work.
That's probably what a lot of people do. I think I heard it all the time speaking to women. Oh, I did this thing, but it didn't work. It's like, well, did you put in the time and the effort? No. I want to clarify for context too, drop shipping and remote sales, not the same thing. Drop shipping but I think everybody puts it in the same basket. Any type of what's that classic side hustle title online that drop shipping, digital marketing, multi-level marketing, remote sales, affiliate, there's all these terms out there. I know it took me a long time to understand what was what. And for a long time there, I labeled everything a scam. But I do think that a lot of people go down these pathways because it is remote opportunities, ways to work online and do that. So you had done drop shipping, didn't put the work in. It's good that it's funny when you get to a place where you reflect and you realize like, oh, it was actually just me. It wasn't the thing. So you reached out to Nerida. She obviously was like, great, go for it. And then what happened?
Well, I was overseas at the time, and I just remember thinking to myself, like, I had so much hesitation coming up, and I just remember thinking, what's the alternative? I go back and I find another job that I might love at first because it's something new, and then 6 months down the track, I'm actually not enjoying it again, and I had no idea what I wanted to do, absolutely zero. I just remember thinking, well, why don't you just give it a go? I don't even know how I came to that, but
you'd been doing a lot of work with Narrator, right? I think your perspective at that point towards opportunity and your relationship with fear and achievement, like some of those things you would have already been working on, right? Because you were working with Narrator beforehand.
Yeah, for sure. She definitely helped me with a lot of that. But then I even remember ringing Mum and I said to her, please don't give me your opinion. I'm already stressed about it. I just want to make sure I go and do this. And she even said to me, she's like, Jess, you're the only one stopping yourself.
Your mum said that to you?
Yeah.
Oh, I love your mum.
And I was like, yeah, you're right. Like I am. Like I had the support from my partner. He was like, yeah, like go and do whatever makes you happy. And my next thing was like, all right, well, I'm going to work part-time. That was my thought process at the time. I'm going to work part-time. And I'm going to do this course and I'm just going to, see what happens.
So what happened?
I had the call with the beautiful Lou at She Sells at the time.
We love you, Lou.
Yes.
She's a listener.
And I had sold myself before I got on that call. I was a bit of a laydown. Yeah, I had sold myself before I got on that call that I'm going to do it. Though what changed on that call is Lou gave me a bit of a perspective as to how quick that you can do it. And if I was doing it full time, that I could have a setter role if I wanted it in the space. I'm not going to give a time frame because I don't want to give some unrealistic expectation. And I thought, okay, I actually had a meeting booked with the business owner at the time, half an hour after my call with Lou, and I was going to ask him to go part-time. And I got off the call and I thought, I had the space of 15 minutes to make a decision, and I just thought, you know what, I'm quitting. And I literally quit my job.
I had no idea that was how it played out.
Yeah. I was in Denmark at the time. I was in my pajamas because I only just got up with the time zone, and I thought, I'm quitting my job. And I remember being mum and dad and then my partner as well. I was like, I just quit my job. And they're like, what? Like, in the space of, I was only having this call as like sign up here, see what happens.
So what about, I'm going to be devil's advocate here, like, but what about money? Like, what about commitments? Like,
I love a good budgeting spreadsheet. I love a spreadsheet. I had already looked at the money aspect, and I just gave myself a couple of months. Did I want to use my savings? Absolutely not. It used to kill me to take money out of my savings. I looked at it in a way of like, if I had to start up a business as a gym owner, I'd have to invest in the equipment. So I looked at this as like, the job that I was in, I did not have the mental capacity to do a course as well as do the job. So I would either have to go and find another job so that I could do the course on the side, or I just quit, go all in, give it my absolute all and do it as quick as I can, and as making sure that I also give myself enough time. And so I decided that I'm just going to use my savings to live off until I make it work. And it was the best decision I have ever made because I honestly don't think I would have made it work otherwise. I think I had a couple of like ups and downs in like personal circumstances during my She Sells training. And if I was working and I had my safety buffer, I probably wouldn't have kept going.
When I've had Dylan on in a few episodes, he talks about having a bit of a safety net and having something to fall back on. And there's a part of that where you gave yourself a timeline with the money that you had to make sure that you could survive. And so that is what he would sort of interpret as a bit of a safety net. But we've talked openly about if you give yourself too much of a safety net, if you give yourself a rope too easy to hang on to and go back to, you'll probably resort back to that. So it's interesting how you said, had you have kept your other job, because things were difficult, you had personal things going on, you were learning a new skill, you were probably uncomfortable, it was all new, it probably would have been really easy for you to just go back to what you were doing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think like the key point there is you've got to have some safety net. Like, you're not going to go quit your job and have living week to week. Yes, if you give yourself too much of a safety net, like I know I've had people in the community say to me in terms of like a mortgage and kids and this and that, and obviously yes, I don't have any kids,
but you do have a mortgage.
But I do have a mortgage.
You've got a mortgage.
Yes, I've got a decent mortgage owed to the bank, and I think that's something that the more you have at stake, the more that you're going to make it work because you have to. Like, let's just say example in the training, if you're questioning whether you're ready to submit your assignment or not, if you've got to make it work, you'll probably just submit it anyways and see how you go. And that's exactly what happened to me. I was like, I'm just going to submit this for some feedback, see how I go. And I went better than I ever expected.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect. And I think to touch on too what you said then about you have a mortgage, and for some people they would probably think, well, I've got a mortgage, I've got kids, I've got responsibilities, it's risky. And you could see it from that perspective, but you could also see it from the perspective of, well, that's why I have to make this work. I have my kids, I have my mortgage, I have responsibilities. I will make this work for them, not I won't make this work because I'm worried, I'm scared that I won't be able to have things for them if it doesn't work out. Have a little bit of a safety net there in terms of like the timing and the money and things. Don't bloody just, live off beans and rice and have no money and homeless. But
I mean, if that's what you got to do to make it work, beans and rice, then maybe you got to do it.
Okay, so you went all in, and what I said in the intro is like you're the perfect example of the amazing results and what you can really get out of just going headfirst, all in, invest in yourself, cut the rope, cut ties with anything that's going to make you come back to that comfortable sort of stage. So give us a high level overview of timing to complete the course, getting certified, starting to work, how that's all going.
Just before I touch on that, I think I want to touch on the fact, like you mentioned, like it's risky, but like what's riskier? Staying in a job for the 9 to 5 for the rest of your life, or taking this risk, even if you have kids and a mortgage, but then being able to be more present. And like there's a risk to absolutely everything that you do in life.
Yeah, I think I've said that before on here. It's you either do something or you don't, and it's what are you willing to live with? What are you going to be happy with at the end of the day when you're old? What are you going to look back and be happy with doing? Yeah, I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, for sure. So in terms of timing, I did the She Sells course in 9 weeks. I gave myself, I would say, 5 hours a day. I did it. I got up, I made it like a job. I was like, all right, I'm on my computer at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I'd already, been to the gym, done whatever else, and did that. So I would say I went all in on it. And the biggest thing that I did was I just did stuff when I didn't feel ready. My certification I had booked for a couple of weeks after in November, and I decided, Beck, the beautiful member success, I was on a call with her and I said, I'm thinking of just like booking it a bit earlier. And I did, and I got certified and I got the result that I wanted. And then my dream opportunity came up only a week later. So if I had left my exam at the original date, I actually would have missed it.
Yeah. Isn't that funny how that happens? I want to talk about people who might think, oh, well, you're lucky, Jess. It was just easy for you. You're lucky, Jess. It was just easy for you.
I'm going to say I actually have had to work to get myself out of that mindset as well, because when I did get on this, I was like, oh, I'm lucky I've got this really good account. And then I really had to, Nerida actually said to me, she's like, Jess, that's not luck. And I sat with that and I was like, wow, like it's not. I've taken that many risks to get here. I quit my job and had, I would say, quite a significant amount of bills. And I still had to sit with the fear, the uncertainty. I had to put everything into the course. Even when personal circumstances came up, I gave myself a couple of days. I was like, right, we've got to make this work, back into it. Yeah, I just did role play after role play, reps after reps after reps. And then I put myself in positions that, like I reached out to you where you were in a position that I wanted to be in, and I did one-on-one training with Brooke, the owner. Like I was determined to make this work. And there was 8 other applicants on the role that I wanted at the time.
This is my favorite part.
A lot of them were even more experienced than me. Like I was fresh into the industry. And yes, I had some real estate background. My offer that I was applying for was in a real estate aspect. It came down to actually having just some belief in myself that I'm actually going to do this. I had so many opportunities come up before that, which I could have definitely gone down the path of, like the full-time and working more hours. And that's something that I wanted my time freedom back. I wrote down at the start of She Sells exactly what I wanted in a role. And it was to work 15 hours and earn $25K a month. And there was opportunities that came up and I would ring Nerida. She's like, this isn't part of your list. And I was like, yeah. So I had to turn, like the hardest part's not making the list. It's turning down everything that's not that.
It's the shiny object syndrome. That's really, really common.
Yeah, for sure. I got it. I got a role that is going to give me the earning potential as long as I put the work in. I work the hours, the part-time hours. And to get that, I think on the interview, like the business owner would ask me what I would do, like what ways around it, how I would approach certain situations. And I was open to actually giving feedback as to what I would change rather than just go with what he was doing and give an answer based off that. I was like, oh, would you be open to this? Or would you be open to that? So they can actually start seeing the value and how you're actually going to add to their business.
I think that's really important in that when you do interviews in any industry, it's not even just in remote sales, but you're interviewing each other. I think people go into an interview setting thinking that they have to impress the person and they have to be open to just doing whatever they expect of them. Whereas when you know your value and you know your worth and what you can bring to the table, it's not that you walk in and go, right, roles reversed, I'm interviewing you, that sort of shit, that's ridiculous. But you have to, you put your worth out there, you be genuine. That's, I think, what some people get wrong sometimes, is that they go in and they pretend and they say things that they don't actually mean, but they think it's right to hear. At the end of the day, business owners in any space, they just want to know you genuinely, because at the end of the day, you might have this facade for the first few months, but your true colors will always come and shine through. So you might as well just have them from the beginning and show your worth, show your value. But then again, like you said, what you had said, hey, are you open to making some changes here? Because particularly in the remote sales space, a lot of business owners, particularly in Australia, more accounts are established in the US in terms of it's been around for a lot longer. In the US, it's a much more known sort of space. Whereas in Australia, it's a lot of newer business owners who have never had a setter or a closer before, because predominantly their business or service has been delivered in person, or if it's been online, they haven't had, like, business owners have just been selling their own stuff. Whereas now bringing on setters and closers for business owners is like, whoa. And if you're a business owner and you are considering getting setters and closers, like, these are the risks that business owners are taking now, because not a lot of business owners will do it. It's seen as like the risky way of going, but business owners who do it are just going to expand in tenfold. Anyway, back to your interview. So how did that go?
Yeah, really good. So something else that I would say made me stand out is, I said to the business owner that, and this is actually something that we spoke about, is that my first 5 sales I'm happy to do with no commission, to show him that I'm actually genuinely there to want to help the clients. Yes, obviously we all have to have money to pay bills and the cost of living and going on holidays and things like that. But something that we've actually been chatting about a lot lately and that we've figured out is that money is not everything. Yes, for some people, everyone's very different. But for me personally, money will only get me so far in terms of determination and motivation. That my biggest driving factor is actually being able to help people. And I really wanted to show him that in the interview. He didn't take my offer. So though that really did show him that I actually want to be there to help his clients.
Business owners want to know your intent, and they want to know that you're there for the right reasons. And it's the same with business owners that I've spoken to in the companies that I've worked for. They want to make sure that you align with their vision, and their vision is usually that they want to help people. In any business, service, I think anyone, like some of Dylan's friends, they're in construction, building. They love building. They love building a home for someone. They love providing a service for someone. So people who work for them that have the same drive are going to be a better employee than anyone who just wants to be there for the money and just because. So yeah, I'm not surprised that was the response from them.
Well, the business owner actually said to me when I got the job, said some people did flag dollar signs and it turned him off straight away. So
I want to talk about the money isn't everything, because this is something that I have spoken about on the podcast, in that I did hit my biggest month thinking that it was going to be the be all and end all. And I think in the industry, earning really great money it's quite a male dominated industry, and a lot of the marketing online when it comes to getting into this space it comes down to money. It's just what's out there. And so I think sometimes people have this idea that success in this industry is by how much money you make. And even in the world, in society, you have status by how much money you earn. It's everywhere in society, but it's something that I learned that, I hit my biggest month, but it didn't bring me any sense of joy that I thought it was going to bring. So obviously that's something you've realized too.
That has been something, like the overachieving, that I've tied my worth to achieving at work or just even achieving in life. Like even when I bought my house young, I started all of that young, and as much as that set me up, which is fantastic, there is an element of you do feel empty inside, even when you do have these achievements. And it's actually I'm going to say it's a pretty unhealthy addiction. Yes, there's a side of work ethic there, but at the same time, and like you do want to, if that's your driving motivator, but I would say the biggest question that I had to ask myself is, why am I doing this? Am I doing this to prove my worth? And that's something that the emotional intelligence work that I've been doing has really changed my perspective on the reason behind actually always wanting this success.
Because at what cost?
Yeah. And the cost was the stress I was under, the stress I was putting myself under, which then affected my health, and it all starts going downhill from there. And like, I don't have kids yet, and I do want to have kids one day. And I just look at that and I think, wow, like if I kept that up, I can only imagine where I'd be. Like, I could barely keep myself afloat. Like, I would come home from work and to cook myself dinner, like sometimes, I'm going to be honest, I would have a packet of honey sweet chips and go to bed. Like, it was...
Actually, one of the girls in the community messaged me the other day, Shannon. She goes, and I said, how are you going? She went, yeah. And we're all very open in She Sells. We learn to just not.
We love to be
we
open.
go deep. But she was like, yeah. I mean, look, ups and downs. I've had said a few things, and she was like, and yep, and I've had a bag of bullets for dinner. And I was like, well, at least you're honest. It reminded me of that.
Yeah, literally. And I think like getting to that stage, like I was really unhealthy. And I was like, I'm giving my life away to this business that, number one, I treated like mine that's not mine. Even if it was mine, is it worth it? Probably not.
I think that's such a good perspective to have, because that's relatable to if you work in remote sales or transition into remote sales, because you can very much get into when you've got uncapped earning potentials, sometimes you don't know where to stop. But also for people who just work in a normal job, in their normal 9 to 5 or wherever they are, if they're unhappy, if they're killing themselves for this job and for security, or if you're working in remote sales for the money and you're just chasing this money or sense of security, but at what cost? At what cost? It doesn't matter what industry you're in. If you are working in a job and you are letting go of yourself and you're putting everything else materialistic ahead of it, you won't find happiness. Doesn't matter where you work.
And I think, like, obviously this is very dependent on everyone's circumstances. But for me personally, I think that you can have both. First, for me, was actually starting to find that internal happiness, which I'm still very much working on, because it's hard to, when you've lived for so long, actually like not looking after yourself, like to start looking after yourself, giving yourself that self-love. Like, it is, I'm not going to say it's an easy road, but one that's very rewarding. Yeah, like I think that you can have both. Like, and this is what I was actually reflecting on last night, is that yes, like these 20, 30, 40K months, like I still think that that's so great, and that is still a goal of mine, though making sure that, and if I can, or I know that I will be able to achieve that working the part-time hours, but I think that's what you've got to weigh up, and you've got to look at and go, okay, well, yes, am I just working these ridiculous amount of hours and sacrificing a lot of stuff to earn all this money? This could be quite controversial, because I know that
we love controversial.
So many business owners out there and so many people out there and if you have a very different goal in life, like that is totally fine as well. But this is just where I've landed myself.
I don't think it's controversial. I think it's worth putting out there. And we label things controversial because they're outside of the norm and what's expected. I think we need to challenge that more. We need to challenge that more, because if we don't, I just think there are so many goddamn people who are unhappy and miserable, and they're not doing anything about it. And I'm not going to sit here and say, well, I've done this big career change and now I'm the happiest person in the world, similar to you, and that, fuck, there's a lot of work to do, my God. But what's riskier? What's worse? What would you rather? I can tell you right now, I would rather be here battling the demons and shit that I'm going through in learning sales and a career change and friggin' moving interstate and all that. I would rather be doing this than knowing that I was going to be stuck in a career that was burning me out.
Yeah, and I tell you what, like I am so thankful that I had Nerida to actually really show me what living a life of not having to hustle is, and still being able to earn decent money doing it, and that you don't have to sacrifice your time for money. And I think being modeled that and her showing me that it's possible has really helped me to actually believe that I can do it, just how rewarding it actually is. But at the same time, when I've hustled since I was 12. I'm now 23. So for the last 11 years, like I had 4 jobs when I think I was 14.
We are so similar.
Like it honestly, and that's at no pressure from my parents, no nothing. Like I just wanted to hustle. It's hard. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It sounds ridiculous, but it's hard to work part-time.
It's hard to not hustle when that is what you are so used to doing.
Yeah, like I was having a chat with Brooke yesterday, and we were chatting just about like finding your purpose and finding that. And I think for me now is the challenge is actually not getting pulled into more stuff that's work, and actually going to find purpose and fulfillment outside of the service of working. For instance, like volunteering, and like I never honestly thought I'd ever be thinking about that. I would always think about volunteers as when you retire. But I think I'd probably say I'm semi-retired at 23.
Can I tell you, I felt the same way when I first started working. I'm like, God, I feel retired.
Yeah, literally. Like my friend said to me the other day, is it too early to retire? I said, I think I'm semi-retired. But yeah, like even going to find purpose in that, like helping volunteer and helping the homeless or something like that, rather than actually finding purpose in work, is something that I really need to strive to put my time and effort into. And as much as it's hard, it's uncomfortable. Like we all talk about uncomfortable in a work sense and how to put yourself in uncomfortable positions in a work sense. But I think it's just like sometimes we have to take out things out of work and find purpose in other stuff.
Other things, yeah. And I was talking to Amy, who I interviewed in the last episode, and we talked a lot about getting out of your comfort zone when it comes to building community and connections, and having to go to events or being at the gym and introducing yourself to someone is part of being uncomfortable too. It doesn't just have to be uncomfortable to gain success or gain status or whatever that is. Okay, so final thoughts. What would be your advice? Because the whole purpose of this podcast is to inspire people to take bold action, whatever that looks like. It doesn't have to be a fucking career change to make heaps of money, but it's just to get out of what's not serving you anymore, because this is really targeted to people who felt like I did, stuck, unsure what to do, wanting a change. What would be your advice to someone who maybe felt like you did and just constantly hustling, realizing they weren't happy and wanted to make a change but didn't know where to start? What would be your advice?
My first advice would be that no matter what you do, unless you find happiness within yourself first and start doing some deeper internal work, you'll keep trying to find it in the next thing. Like even if I went into remote sales and hadn't done internal work, I'm still very much early on in this journey. I would probably be in the hustling same position that I was, but just in a different career. So it's all gone well to now have the opportunity to work part-time, but I actually have to stick to that now, and I have to set my own boundaries. So my advice would be to actually find some happiness within yourself before you do that, or not before, but just during that transition. And my other advice would be to do it when you don't feel ready, because let's be so for real, you're never going to feel ready.
Never.
And I think the other thing is just you actually have no idea how much growth in very like all aspects of your life that you have with doing something. Like going into She Sells, I was thinking I was going to learn a sales skill. And what I've actually got out of it is the communication that I can have now just between even friends and family, like the deeper connections that I've built, and having so many women that are all on the same path as me, and being in that community, and then also in Nerida's community. Like I've never had so many friends at the moment that are just on such a deep level. Yeah, I think you just have no idea what you can actually get out of it. And just remembering that, yes, the climb up the mountain is so hard at times, and it is really easy sometimes to give up. But if you keep pushing, the other side is actually, yeah, like it does have a nice view at the top of the mountain, if I'm going to keep on that trend.
What would you say to someone who's like, oh, well, investing in doing the inner work in an inner coach, or even just to go to maybe therapy, or that you got to pay to do that? What would you say to someone who's like, oh, it's too expensive. I don't want to, I don't have the money to spend on something like that?
I'd be asking you, like, are you happy to live your life the way you are the rest of, like, even another 5-10 years, even another year, even another 12
Another
months?
few weeks.
Is like, there's a cost to everything. We say that all the time. There's a cost to everything. There's a cost of staying the same. If you're feeling that sense of unfulfillment, then that's a cost to you, and that's a cost to your life. And are you willing to stay like that, or are you willing to actually invest and start feeling better? Because, I mean, who doesn't want to feel better?
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for coming on, love. I'm so glad we finally had this conversation. You and I always talk regularly over the phone or through Zoom, and we end up in these long, deep and meaningful conversations for hours on end. So I'm glad we were able to share a part of our conversations, but your journey. I think that you are extremely inspiring for a lot of people, and not just because you have been successful in a lot of areas, but you've just been so open in sharing the journey of getting there and taking radical responsibility for your part in it too. I think sometimes people can really fall victim to certain aspects, and you've really recognized where you've needed to put in the work. And like I said at the beginning, you're a perfect example of just when you fucking go all in and invest in yourself, and look where you are now. Like, it's just, yeah, it's amazing. So thanks for coming on.
No, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, the risk was 100% worth it, and the success is one thing, but everything else that I've built around it now and in my life is another thing, and I really don't think you can put a price tag on it.
No, not at all. All right, well, maybe we'll get you back in a couple of months' time and see where you are then, but otherwise, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye.